Hello, everybody. It's me, the Amazing Atheist, with the first part of my three-part Q&A session. I've got some questions right here, and I'm about to answer them. They're from you people, the little people, the people without whom this amazingness would not be possible. Well, it would be possible, but no one would enjoy it because without you people, there would be no audience. So, yay! Anyway, how big is Satan's dick? That's a good question. And the reason that I chose to answer it is because I've watched a lot of specials on the witch trials and the persecution of witches. There's a lot of documentaries about it. It's an interesting subject for a lot of people. And the reason I enjoy the subject so much is because these motherfuckers living in the dark ages of sexual and, well, every sort of repression, really, they would tell the stories about what the witches used to go do. And it was always stuff like, oh, yeah, they meet in the woods and they fuck the devil. And these ultra-Christian, repressive and repressed people who lived in the dark ages would go into intimate detail about the devil's cock, and you'd be like, oh, it's long, it's 18 inches long, and it's veiny, and it's got spikes at the end, and some say he had two cocks so that he could penetrate a woman in both of her back holes at once. That was their conception of Satan. And it's interesting because, of course, none of that really happened. So where did it come from? The fevered imaginations of those repressed Christians. It was almost like persecuting witches was their form of pornography. Because by talking about all the horrible, sexually deviant things the witches were doing, they could talk about their own fantasies. So, like, let's say you have a foot fetish. You would go and you'd be like, hey, I heard the witches like to rub oil on Satan's feet, and then he sticks his cock between their feet and starts fucking their feet. And the other people would be like, oh, how sinful. And then, like, maybe you find another foot fetishist, and then you guys have a really intense conversation for a long time about how those evil witches do those things with their feet. So it was almost like a precursor to internet pornography in an interesting way. Are you a pathological narcissist? Is pretentiousness or meta-pretentiousness a defense mechanism for your insecurities? I just want to say that anyone who says meta-pretentiousness is extremely pretentious in and of themselves and has no business calling anyone else pretentious as an insult. My favorite Star Wars movie is Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Not a joke if you, for whatever reason, think I am. And I can more than well be constructive about why, and I realize its flaws, just like I do with all 6 movies. That being said, do you think lower of a person for having this opinion? Even people claiming to respect all opinions say shit like that prequel lovers deserve to die. And I just wonder if you're better than that and can be happy I love something you don't. The answer is I'm not able to let go of that, because I'm sorry, the movie does not have flaws. The movie is a flaw. From start to finish, it has nothing redemptive. Even if you could make a case for some good elements in the Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, I can't abide by anyone who's going to tell me The Phantom Menace is worth a fuck. Because it's not. It's a hideous movie. It's ugly. The special effects look terrible. Like, look, they're re-releasing Jurassic Park in IMAX. The special effects from Jurassic Park look less dated by far than the special effects from The Phantom Menace, which came years later. The Phantom Menace, it's an ugly movie. Its characters are wooden and lifeless. The actors portraying those characters clearly do not give a fuck beyond getting a paycheck. Jar Jar Binks is obnoxious. Jake Lloyd, or whatever the fuck that kid's name was who played young Anakin, was obnoxious. The only cool thing about the movie, the only thing that was even slightly cool about the movie, Darth Maul gets killed. You know, why? Why would you create the only good thing you create and you make sure to get rid of it in the first fucking movie? You know, anyone who finds anything good about that movie, there's just something wrong with you, because it's not good on any level. The story's bad, the special effects are bad, the writing is bad, the acting is bad. It's just hideous and abysmal and disgusting. And it pisses me off to even think of the fact that that movie exists and dares to call itself a Star Wars film. How'd you get into BDSM, and how long have you been into it? I don't know. I don't know if it's like a thing where it's like, oh, well, I got into it because it's always been something that's been part of my personality, I guess. I mean, I believe that a lot of the things that people do in life are sort of innate. They're sort of inborn, and even if you don't have a direct predilection towards a particular behavior, you still have you still have traits that might guide you to that behavior. You know, like you might. I mean, what I'm saying is there's not like a gene for like, oh, I want to be spanked, but obviously there is a series of character traits that are made up of you know, whatever genes or upbringing, or, you know, I tend to think of it more as a genetic thing, as something that's born into you. But I'm sure that environment is also a factor to some extent, and it probably varies from person to person. I mean, because, you know, certain people are going to be more affected by their environment than others. But I do tend to think that there is sort of an innateness to a lot of the things that we feel deeply. And so I guess that that's one of those things that feels that way to me. Is it feels like something that's inherent to my nature. Even if I'm not gonna say something as ridiculous as like there's some specific, you know, on and off switch that causes that to happen somewhere in my mind. When did you stop swearing in your videos? What brought that about, and how long did it last? Well, at the time when I started bleeping out profanity in my videos, which lasted for probably a little less than a year, it was because I had 2 strikes on my YouTube account, and I was in pretty fucking dire straits of getting my account suspended. And YouTube at the time had this very like, oh, we're like a family-friendly site, you know. We you know, you should produce content that's safe for the whole family. Thankfully, YouTube seems to have given up that stupid fucking bullshit, and they don't care if you curse now. So I do. And, you know, my account's not at risk anymore, so I don't really have to walk on eggshells at this point. Can I hide my dick in your butt? Yes, but only if you make sure that he knows that he's got to jump up and down in there. He can't just go in and just, you know, stay still and just hide out. You know, he's got to bounce around a little. When did you realize you were an atheist, and what happened? I think the moment I realized I was an atheist, well, I was I'd always been an atheist before, but the moment that it kind of crystallized to me intellectually on more than just a visceral inward level was there was this sort of like, not really an IQ test, but a puzzle test. You know, it was basically it determined your ability to predict patterns that were increasingly complex as the test progressed. And I was able to identify the patterns very well. I scored more highly on the test than my mother and my stepfather by far. I think they both had scores that were in the 90s, and I had a score of like 160. And I was about 10 years old at the time. So my stepfather decided that I must have cheated, because there's no way that a small child beat him at this particular exercise. So he basically started accusing me of cheating and getting very upset. And I basically said, I swear to God I did not cheat. And he said, you don't even believe in God. And, like, it just clicked instantly, like, that's an option? I can just not believe in God? And that's when it kind of occurred to me, too, that, there is no God. Because this is a person who can just turn, basically what that statement was saying to me is that, okay, you don't have to believe in God. Therefore, there isn't a God. Because if there really was a God, then it wouldn't be an option to not believe in him. I mean, unless you're insane. Like, I can't go outside and look at a cloud and say there's no such thing as a cloud. I can't look at a wooden table and say there's no such thing as a wooden table. But it's easy for me to say there's no such thing as God because no one's ever seen him. No one's ever fucking heard from him except for a bunch of crazies and a bunch of people who lived 2,000 fucking years ago at least. So there's not good evidence. And I guess that was the moment it crystallized. I don't know if it was years or months later, I was riding in the car with my mom, and I basically asked her, like, what is it called if you don't believe in God? What are you called if you don't believe in God? And she said, an atheist. And I said, I'm an atheist. And she started crying, weeping, just like, I failed as a mother. And I was like, oh shit, I guess I shouldn't have fucking admitted that. If I'd have known that she was going to have that reaction, then I'm, to this day, might not have fucking come out and told her I'm an atheist. But, yeah, I mean, it was a hard thing, I guess, for a while, but I mean, everyone kind of just got used to it over time. I mean, I guess that ultimately no one really gave a shit. There was that initial shock, but then after that, it just who cares? Would you rather burn to death, drown, or get sawed in half horizontally on the abdomen and bleed to death? I'd rather burn to death, but not, like, directly in the fire. I'd like to, like, roast in, like, a big oven or, like, on a spit or something. Since getting married, has anyone ever suggested that you and your wife need to start making babies? No. Well, I mean, yeah, people have suggested it. Particularly my stepfather has come to me and been like, when you gonna make me some grandkids? It's like, never. Not gonna do it. Don't have any desire. I mean, I have something of a desire to pass my genes down to the next generation. So maybe I'll look into being a sperm donor or something. But as far as raising a child, ugh. Are you I mean, like, I don't have the energy for that. I don't have the time for that. I don't have the desire to do that. I don't like children. I think they're annoying, stupid little fucks. And I hate most adults, too. I hate 99% of the people I meet. What makes me think I'm going to love this one person just because they share my genes? And even if I do love them, who's to say the love is rational? What if they're an asshole? I don't want to love some asshole that I fucking would hate otherwise if they weren't related to me. But like, I mean, I could change my mind on this. I could fucking one day decide, like, oh, fuck, my life is empty. I guess I'll have a kid and raise it so that I can fucking feel fulfilled as a human being and feel like I have, accomplished my goal on this planet to procreate and, create a future generation so that they can, suffer whatever fucked up shit happens to the world after I'm gone. But for the most part, I find that I don't have a tremendous inclination to do that at this point. Are you ever happy, or do you always yell cuss words in frustration? Well, I'm perpetually happy. Look, I'm smiling right now. See, I'm a happy camper. Why did you title your book Neckbeard Uprising? Well, because there's a large chapter against feminism in the book, and feminists have always been pretty fond of calling me a neckbeard. And I figure, if I'm going to be labeled with some derisive term, then I'm just going to fucking embrace it and be like, yeah, I'm a neckbeard. If that's what you fucking want me to be, then that's what I am. You know, it's just like my first book was entitled Scumbag, Musings of a Subhuman, because at that time I was arguing with social Darwinists who supported things like Columbine, and that was the term that they used towards me. They called me a subhuman and a scumbag, so I was hearing a lot of that. So basically, whatever insult you come up with for me, I'm always going to embrace it and be like, you're goddamn right. That's exactly what I am, and fuck you. How was your teenage life? My teenage life was basically the life of a sullen, withdrawn, emo, just like, I don't give a shit. Okay, well, I slept on a mattress on the floor that had no sheets. I mean, I had sheets that I could have put on it if I desired, but I didn't, so I just slept on a mattress on the floor. I had a small little white TV set that was covered in stickers and was literally just fucking scratched up from head to toe because as I would watch, I took a razor blade and I just cut the plastic around the TV. And that was just sat on the floor, and I had a bunch of DVDs and comic books and regular books and shit just strewn across the room. And my wall was literally covered in posters from top to bottom, things I'd cut out of magazines, anything like that. And I was just basically, you know, if anyone said anything to me, I was like, yeah. And I never showered, and I had long, disgusting, greasy hair. And basically, I was just like, I didn't give a fuck about life or anything. I was just kind of like, whatever. I was very depressed, very hormonal, very prone to sudden bouts of intense emotion followed by weeks and weeks of numbness and an inability to connect with anything or care about anything or be passionate about anything. So yeah, I mean, I not a good time, not the best time of my life, if I'm honest with you. Do you have anything special you're going to do with your gaming channel that you don't believe anyone else has ever done? What's going to separate it from the millions of gaming channels there are already on YouTube? Well, I'm not looking to be like the best, or I'm not looking to fucking be like, oh, I'm gonna stand out from the crowd. I'm just looking to do it my way. You know, I'm gonna fucking provide the commentary that I come up with, and you know, I'll leave it to other people to decide if it stands out, or if it's exceptional, or if it's just the norm, or whatever the fuck it is. You know, and that's up for other people to decide. I'm not going to try to fucking force some opinion into your mind where it's like, oh, you like this because this is original and this is avant-garde. You know, just decide for your fucking self how you feel about it. And the URL for that is youtube.com/TJ Plays It All, and I literally will. Right now, I've really only played Fallout New Vegas on there. I'm planning on introducing some other titles, hopefully next week. But, you know, I'm working on that pretty hard. I'm just trying to build that up, and I'm trying to work on my technique and just perfect my style and shit. So, I mean, we'll see, you know? I mean, hopefully it'll emerge into something cool. I feel like it's pretty good for a beginner, and I seem to be getting positive feedback from it. So, you know, check it out. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I really don't give a shit either way. I mean, obviously, I prefer you like it, but if you don't, whatever. Tell us your first experience. Tell us your experience of when you first got high. Kind of not how I would have worded it, so my mind kept trying to rearrange the words. My dyslexia probably doesn't help too much with that either. First got high. Well, let's see. The first time I felt high at all was I was walking down up and down my big long driveway at my step parents' house, and a friend of mine walked up to me and you know, he's like, hey, you want to smoke? And I really didn't smoke at the time, but I was like, okay, well, I guess we could smoke. And you know, we fucking started smoking, just standing around the road talking, and then basically, he was working construction at the time, and he's like, hey, man, you want to fucking come help me out with this job tomorrow? And normally, I'd have been like, fuck no. But I was obviously a little high, so I was feeling generous, and I'm like, yeah, man, no problem. Fucking next day, I had to wake up early, and I'm like, fuck. never smoking weed again. And I smoked it a few times after that. Never really got high though. Just, I'd smoke it, and I'd fucking feel nothing. And people would be like, "Oh, you just haven't had the good shit." And then they'd give me the good shit, and I'd smoke that, and I wouldn't get high. But I guess it just turns out that I have a higher tolerance than most people, at least a higher initial tolerance than most people, because once I got some weed and I smoked a bunch of it, not a bunch, but more than I ever had before. Because before it'd always been like 2 or 3 hits, which just isn't enough to get me high for whatever reason. Not even a little. I don't even feel it. Unless it's like the fucking best shit you could ever imagine. Maybe then a little bit. But once I started smoking, once I started fucking smoking a lot, well, basically one time sorry, I got a little lost there for a second. One time my wife came to me and she was smoking, and which is odd because like literally a year before, not even a year before, literally just a few months before, she was so anti-weed. Just like, I remember one time I got peer pressured into smoking weed, and she was like, talk to me again when you're sober. It was just very like haughty, like, oh my god, I can't. She just had like this pathological aversion to any sort of drug behavior, because I think she knew someone who like fucked up their life because of drugs, ostensibly. Probably they were just a fuck up regardless of what drugs they were doing. But so anyway, but then she went off and she got a job working for an island, a party island called Put-in-Bay, Ohio. Some of you might know about that. She worked there for a summer, and then she came back and she was a fucking pothead. So then she started trying to get me to smoke, and I'm like, I'm cool. I don't really smoke. And then finally one day we're sitting there in the garage, and I fucking, whatever, I'll smoke. And I just got fucking high out of my mind. I started trying to like set my drink on top of a bike pedal that had just infinite give. Like, here's the bike pedal, here's my drink, and the bike pedal just goes like this, So my perception was fucked. I was seeing little pictures and the patterns on the wall and shit, like I used to as a kid, but my imagination got shittier as I got older, and then I wasn't able to see the pictures as easily anymore. But the weed, just like, if I get high enough and I look at a fucking stucco ceiling with a lot of fucking speckle pattern shit on there, I can see mosaics and pieces as complicated as anything painted by fucking Dali. So it was pretty cool. Do you believe in social change? If so, for the changes you believe are needed, how long do you think it will take? I think it'll take a long time. Probably the core message of what I do, if there is a message, if there's any greater theme in everything that I do as the amazing atheist, it's that you are the property of yourself. You have the right to conduct your life in any way that you see fit, so long as you do not interfere with the rights of others. I've always held to that. For about as long as I've had any sort of intellectual position on the how society should be run. I mean, I've viewed that position through different lenses and from different perspectives. It's most commonly associated with libertarianism, but as my thinking has evolved and changed, I've worked it into a more of a progressive ideology, which a lot of people find to be contrary. And maybe one day I'll be able to have the vocabulary and the ability to explain why it's not contrary, or why it's not contrary to me. But it's very difficult to explain my thinking on that matter, because it's very convoluted. And it's not convoluted in the sense that it's therefore wrong. It's convoluted in the sense that it's very intricate and very complex, and probably something I would need a lot of time to fully explain. Maybe that'll be the subject of a documentary feature one day or something like that. Hey TJ, down here in Brazil, some pastor called Marco Feliciano has been assigned as the president of the Human Rights Chamber, since he sort of has made statements in the past calling black people cursed and that gay people have too many rights. People are trying to kick him the fuck out of there. However, despite the huge uproar, he still won't budge from his position. What should we do to get that fucker out of there? Well, I mean, you live in the land of Brazil where women have gigantic, gorgeous asses. So you should just be happy for that and not worry about some fucking low-life bigot. But if you really want to get rid of him, just fucking get a fucking lynch mob together. Go down there and fucking, what do lynch mobs do? Do you accept fan art? More importantly, can I leech off your popularity if I draw you some? Yes, I do accept fan art. I love fan art, especially if it's Rule 34-y. But, if you're going to do Rule 34 fan art, you should probably contact me to find out what I will enjoy, because there's really no point in making Rule 34 fan art of me if I don't, get into it. Because if I can't jerk off to it, who the fuck is going to? No one else likes this other than me and my wife and like a select few other people who have strange tastes. Woo! This is my book, I'll hold it over here. This is my book, Neckbeard Uprising. It is available in digital form now. It is also available in a personalized edition, which is signed and personalized to whoever you want it to be personalized to. And that is $35 this week only. It's been $50 in the past, and we sold out of them at $50, so $35 is definitely a good deal for that. And this concludes part 1 of our answer session. I will be back Saturday evening. And, you're probably watching this video Saturday, so this evening. And I will be doing another part of this Sunday evening. So you still have time to go ask your questions in the previous video. And I encourage you to do so. And I look forward to answering more of your fucking questions. I'm the Amazing Atheist. Peace the fuck out.